Welcome to the Industry 4.0 Community Podcast, hosted by Walker D. Reynolds, sponsored by 4.0 Solutions and IIoT.University. This is a special live stream, totally unplanned. You can thank IoT Analytics for this, and Rick Bellotta, actually. Rick Bellotta in the Discord server yesterday says, hey, IoT Analytics came out with this new report. And I would love to hear Walker's take on it. So I didn't even see it until this morning. I look at I go to this report, and it's called the Industry 4.0 Check-in, 5 learnings from ongoing digital transformation initiatives. And it's got 5 key takeaways. And I fucking read it, and I'm like, yeah, this is bullshit. I mean, this is the second report in a row from IoT Analytics that is misleading at the absolute best and garbage at the absolute worst. And so what we're going to do in this podcast, we're going to kind of go through it. I did a LinkedIn post. I asked Zach to come on. I asked Doug Albright. I'm going to have Doug introduce himself here real quick. And I asked him to come on so that we could talk about it. And I'll go over what I posted specifically about the post, and then we'll have a conversation about it. But Doug, hey, real quick, for those who don't know Doug Albright, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. I spent about 15 years in a traditional control systems integration role, running a control systems integration group, mostly focused on PLCs and SCADA software. Then I went into working for a large beverage manufacturer, and I transitioned into doing more analytics, but at the operational level.
Okay.
And I have a couple ERP systems kind of, one under my belt that I integrated back when I was a control systems integrator. We started building a lot of panels for Intel, and they were copy exact. So we did the whole MRP thing there, and I championed that. And we integrated Dynamics AX from Microsoft, which was new at the time. And then in the beverage manufacturer, I worked more with SAP.
So when we talk about your subject matter expertise, so for those of you who don't know, Doug actually works at, are you at Intellic or are you at 4.0 Solutions?
Intellic. Yeah.
All right. So Doug is he joined Intellic Integration a few months ago.
Ask him which company he's at.
Yeah, I never remember.
Well, at first you were like, oh, we'll split it and this and that, but I just gravitated to doing work.
So Doug is now on our team. He's been a member of the community for a couple of years, and it took us a few months to kind of work out all the details, but Doug has been on the team for a few years. Obviously, everybody knows Zach. You guys may notice that Zach is in his workshop in Salt Lake, right? You're in Salt Lake?
Yep, Salt Lake City.
Yep, and he's got, his electric vehicle mobile detailing thing.
The vehicle's actually running right now, but it's not an issue because there's no fumes. So you can run the vehicle inside without having to open the garage.
So for those of you who want to follow along this conversation, Josh has dropped in the running chat the link to the LinkedIn post, okay, that we're going to cover. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. All right. So IoT Analytics did this post on LinkedIn, yesterday. IoT Analytics is think of them as, they're a market analytics group that does, focuses specifically on the industrial, or the Internet of Things and the industrial Internet of Things. Okay. I actually like a lot of the stuff that they produce. I mean, especially when you looked at, say, a year ago, I liked a lot of the stuff that they've done. Okay. But the last 2 or 3 reports have totally missed the mark. So IoT Analytics did we covered this before in a previous podcast where I think they did the top IoT platforms. It was a breakdown, and literally whoever did it must have just pulled these names out of their butt, because they had attributed certain capabilities to platforms that didn't even have those capabilities. Obviously Microsoft must have paid a lot of money, because basically Microsoft was in every layer of the stack. In some places where they had some of the products had been sunsetted, they didn't even exist anymore. It was just a terrible, terrible piece. And then this one, I don't want to say this is terrible because I haven't actually read the full report. What I've read is the what they put on LinkedIn, and I've read the landing page, which goes into detail. But I will read the full report. The CEO of IoT Analytics actually reached out, and I will actually read the full report here shortly. But that being said, I don't need to know what's in it because they actually tell us. All right, so let's start out with what the post is. The post says the 5 key learnings from our analysis of 22 digital transformation case studies. Okay. Number 1, their first key takeaway is an upgraded ERP is often the first step to digital transformation. Okay. Before I comment, I'll just get through them. Number 2, cloud native data storage and streaming are increasingly accepted. Number 3, first manufacturers have successfully implemented private 5G use cases. 4, digitalization is becoming a prerequisite to achieving sustainability objectives. And 5, the journey toward predictive maintenance and remote monitoring continues. These are just 5 of the many takeaways in our latest IIoT and Industry 4 case study report 2023, which delves into 22 case studies of ongoing digital transformation initiatives in the global manufacturing sector. And then they have a much bigger report they want to sell, which I think it's like $2,000 or something. I don't have a problem with them wanting to sell a report, by the way. I have no issue with that. Okay. I have an issue with what they posted here. This is misleading, right? The issue I have here is this is wholly misleading. So my post basically says, no, ERP is not the first step in digital transformation. It is the first step in a failed digital transformation initiative. Okay, this is straight up misleading, and it is frustrating on so many levels because this is the kind of report organizations rely on to spend money on underwhelming or no return. In fact, I gave a keynote address at Digital Stratosphere 2 months ago. I think it was 2 months ago. So that was one in Denver. And there was a question during my keynote where a guy said, hey, we're going through a big ERP upgrade. Are you saying that we're taking the wrong approach? Because we're starting with the ERP upgrade. And my answer was yes. Okay, an ERP upgrade is not digital transformation. I hate to break the news to you. There's no relationship whatsoever between ERP upgrade and digital transformation. Let me say it again. There is no fucking relationship between ERP upgrade and digital transformation, let alone ERP upgrade signifying digital transformation. Okay. So I'm going to go through what the rest of my post here because it's important. Okay. Digital transformation happens in 2 big steps. Okay. They use the word digital transformation. It happens in 2 big steps. So let's start with what digital transformation is. Digital transformation is the process of going from an Industry 3 company to an Industry 4 company. Industry 3 means that we have leveraged technology from the 3rd Industrial Revolution to automate industrial processes. That's the OT. Okay. In 1998, TCP/IP won the protocol wars, and that created the 4th Industrial Revolution, where we could take IT and OT and we could merge them together into one digital ecosystem so that we could automate business processes, which is the outcome of the 4th Industrial Revolution. What is a business process? It's things like scheduling. It's real-time updates to recipes. It is closed loop management of my manufacturing business. Okay. That's what the 4th Industrial Revolution is all about. All right. So digital transformation is going from Industry 3 to Industry 4. And it happens in 2 big steps. Okay. Step number one in these big phases is you connect, you collect, you store all OT and IT data. Okay. Then you analyze and visualize. Analyze is the data ops component where I take events.
Wait, say that again. Say the first step again.
Connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize. That's the first.
All what kind of data?
IT and OT. It is the information technology data and the OT data. You're connecting to, collecting, and storing all of them.
So how would they do that for the IT data?
Generally, it already exists. It's already in databases somewhere. There are already APIs. We all admit that the IT infrastructure is far more advanced than the OT infrastructure in general. Generally, you have state-of-the-art processors on the plant floor, but the infrastructure itself
You can already
right
you can already connect to it and collect information from it and store
on the
it,
IT side.
even if it's a 20-year-old ERP system.
Correct. It's already there.
Is that what they're saying though? Is like you have to at least have an ERP system to start?
Well, I'm going to read that. I'll read what they actually say.
That's the only viable excuse. Like, yeah, okay, if you're operating on a spreadsheet, maybe get a. But you've been operating on a spreadsheet since day one, or something,
Well,
right?
Exactly. What is ERP?
That's the question you need to answer first before.
I would take a different angle on it. I would say, the granularity of data is much more advanced on the OT side, right?
Oh, no question. In terms of the rate at which we can collect it, right? The transitions are much faster and they're much more granular. Absolutely.
Yes. So if the idea is to become a real-time company, and that's what at the core of a digital transformation strategy, the ERP systems have a legacy issue there.
And what is it? What's the problem with IT data? It basically starts with abstraction. That's the thing. It's like the data at best is abstracted.
Aggregated, yeah.
Right? But if you look at the edge data, the OT data, that's where your business happens. The events you can collect off the plant floor are all the events you need to run your business.
Yeah. So we're going to respond to somebody's changed expectations about deliveries and all that. It needs to be more closer to real time.
What is the reason that Tesla built Warp, which is their ERP system? By the way, Warp is not
what Tesla uses.
Yeah, Warp is not their ERP system, actually. Warp is their digital infrastructure upon which they have ERP functions. Okay, and this is a very important distinction.
Yeah. I've seen job postings where they want people who know Odoo.
Correct. The point is that ERP from the 90s and the 2000s, SAP ERP, was a way of creating a monolith to create a model for your business and then try to enforce it in your operations. And what was the fundamental problem with that approach for 25 years?
Goes against the Toyota model.
Correct. The point was that you can't enforce from the top down what will happen on the plant floor. What you should do is consume from the plant floor what did happen and then abstract the business models, right? That is what edge-driven architectures are. But to argue that, and by the way, the example they use is a legacy SAP implementation to a S/4HANA implementation. That's literally the example IoT Analytics uses as digital transformation.
And that's the example you would say is not.
1,000% I would say it's not. In fact, I go back and forth with Sal Castro over and over and over again, he's the product owner for Digital Manufacturing Cloud for SAP. Sal and I go back and forth. I mean, I love Sal, respect the guy to death. We go back and forth over and over and over again about the problem with the way that SAP approaches digital. Okay. They assume SAP is the infrastructure. But if that's the case, then how do you explain that that's not how Amazon does it or how Tesla does it? If they're the two most digitally advanced companies in the world, and by the way, they are 1 and 2 on the digital maturity scale, 86 aggregate score for Tesla, 84 for Amazon. They are 1 and 2. How do you explain that they don't use an ERP monolith, if in fact that is the starting point for digital transformation? And the answer is, it isn't. It's not the starting point. Okay. And let me finish what I say here about, in my post, right? So step 1 of digital transformations: connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize. Then there's a step 1A, 1B, which is find patterns, report, and solve. Find patterns is machine learning. Okay. Step 2 is plugging your closed loop digital operation into a digital supply chain. That first step takes 3 to 5 years to connect, collect, store, analyze, visualize, find patterns, report, and solve, that part of the digital transformation journey is a 3 to 5 year journey. Do you want to know when most organizations need to upgrade their ERP? And the only reason they need to upgrade the ERP is because they need state-of-the-art API to share the models from ERP. That's it. You need to be able to consume bill of materials. You need to be able to consume asset IDs. You need to be able to consume master data model, not put it in the ERP and let that be your single source of truth. You just need to consume the domain into your infrastructure. That happens in year 3, generally speaking. Year 3, it does. An ERP upgrade isn't the first place you start. Here, you want to know why? Because if you start with the ERP, what you are going to do is create a model you cannot enforce on the plant floor. And you will have a disjointed ecosystem. One where you have a definition and a model up top, and then you have what really happens on the plant floor. Go ahead, Zach.
This is why when we were transforming the oil and gas client, we connected to XBOC and it's consumed its data rather than try to replace it outright, or rather than try to go to a SIGNet system, which would be more of a expensive endeavor and leave them still locked in just as much as the day, once it finishes.
The XBOC system was the history of the operations. So instead of ripping and replacing it, what we needed to do was connect it and consume the history. That's what we did. So we took a digital infrastructure, we plugged into the existing system of ownership, and we consumed the history. But it was no longer the system of ownership, right? I mean, it's a mindset shift. So let me go. Step 1 takes 3 to 5 years. Step 2 often comes after year 5, plugging into the supply chain. Some important points from this IoT analytics piece. Number 1, first, digital transformation starts with digital strategy and education. That is the only place it starts. It has one origination point. Digital strategy. Why do we want to be a digital company? Why do we want to be a digital company? What is our plan for making data our primary commodity? Okay. The example for Tesla is our digital strategy is that we will be manufacturing focused. We will be completely closed loop, one common infrastructure, and we'll treat our commodities not as consumable, but as assets that generate value over and over and over again. A Tesla car is the world's most expensive sensor. That's what it is. Okay. That's their digital strategy. Okay. The why they want to be a digital company is because they want to create a closed loop manufacturing operation where they can get better without humans having to do the analysis of the data. We want to use software tools to analyze the data. Okay.
Right.
Number 2, an upgraded ERP system is generally started around year 3 of the first step. Okay. And organizations treat it as a function of the business, not a system of ownership. So by the time you're ready to do your ERP upgrade, you are viewing ERP as a function. It is master data model. It is bill of materials. It is scheduling plan. That's what it is. Go ahead, Doug. I see you got something to say.
No, is it the system of record?
It is the system of record for its functions.
Yeah.
For its functions, not the system of record for the business. It is the system of record for bill of material, for schedule, for master data model. Here's a really good example. Let me give you this example. And I like to use this one all the time. If ERP is the system of ownership, okay, let's say I'm using SAP and it is the system of ownership. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use ISO 55001 for my asset management compliance. Okay, so ISO 55001 is ISO's asset management standard. And it says that we're going to manage standards in this way. We're going to use these parameters for assets. We're going to organize them this way, and we're going to collect this kind of data. Okay. One of the things that's in ISO 55001 is asset ID. Okay. Every asset must have a unique ID. That's part of the standard. That generally lives inside the ERP system so that the ERP can tie load, capacity, etc. to specific assets. Okay, so we can schedule to a specific asset. We can define the capabilities of a specific asset. But let's say that I go and I purchase Infor. I go and I purchase Infor's CMMS. I think they call it's a enterprise asset management system, EAMS. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my maintenance work orders in Infor. Okay. Guess what? One of the data points that Infor generates for every asset, an asset ID, a unique asset ID. Okay. Does your ERP system have a mechanism to store the asset ID for Infor inside the ERP so that if what I wanted to do was join those data points together, I wanted to pivot off of the two. I wanted to take events from my CMMS and I wanted to join them with events inside the ERP system. Okay?
Yes, but good luck getting it.
Good luck getting it. Why? Because of Sarbanes-Oxley and all these other fucking reasons. Also the monolith, the fact that SAP doesn't want to give it to you.
Plus, that's the SAP guys are going to say, well, we have the system of record. That's where stuff should land. It shouldn't come back to you.
That's one basic example. That if all I want to do is take events from my ERP and I want to join them with events from the CMMS and I want to put them together. And I have asset IDs in both of those systems. One is the system of record for maintenance management. One is the system of record for asset management. How do you do that? Well, the answer is it fucking depends. It depends. Okay. The reality is that an ERP system is no more important than the SCADA system. It's no more important than the CMMS. It's no more important than the QMS. It is just a node in an ecosystem. And that's why you don't start with the upgrade of your ERP system for digital transformation. Because the first thing you do is connect to all those nodes and collect all the data and events in those nodes. And you put them in one place that is open and it's semantically organized. Okay. Number 3, he talks about digitalization. Digitalization is a subset of digital transformation. Okay. So he has the point, or the report says, for digitalization is becoming a prerequisite for achieving sustainability objectives. Okay, first off, digitalization is not a prerequisite. It is native to digital transformation. Like this is you cannot have right. You can't have one without the other. Okay,
that's a weird takeaway.
It's literally somebody used ChatGPT or something to get that. I mean, there's no way. That
yeah, honestly, I honestly think with this headline just to get you to comment on it to get more reach.
Well, I'm happy for it to get more reach, but I'm also going to tell you don't fucking pay for it and don't read it. Like
what a lot of executives want to hear, though.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff you don't want to listen to this. If you want a successful initiative, you don't listen to this. Go ahead, Doug. You're right.
Yeah, but my experience is that, you have the top guys in larger companies. They're all looking at the books. They're all looking at SAP, and that's where their head's at. So they want to think that everything can be there.
What do we say about executives, though? What do we say is the rule for digital companies? Who needs to lead the organization?
Well, I mean,
what's the difference between Elon Musk and Jim Farley? Jim Farley, the CEO at Ford, Elon Musk, the CEO
at Tesla. Get in and do the work. I mean, they understand how to actually make things.
Right. One's an engineer and the other's a marketing guy. Right. Technologists need to be leading these companies. What's one of the first things we educate in digital transformation? So digital strategy and education. What's the first thing we educate? You need a technologist at the helm. Can't be a bean counter. Can't be an MBA. Yes, Cheryl. Needs to be a technologist. You need a technologist leading the organization.
But I've seen cases where like the founder is a really good business person and they're really focused on sales and developing the business and they know the product. So there's a lot of technical things you could be focused on that's not code, but still fall into this trap of I'd like to see everything in SAP.
Okay, right? If you fall for this line, digitalization is becoming a prerequisite to achieving sustainability objectives. If you are an executive and that sounds impressive to you, you are in the wrong fucking job. That's what I'm telling you. If you're an executive in industry or manufacturing, and somebody says digitalization is becoming a prerequisite to achieving sustainability objectives, you are in the wrong job. Because the executive who's going to lead an organization through the process of digital transformation doesn't fall for that. And imagine you do fall for that. You are leading your organization down the wrong path. Elon Musk would read these 5 things, okay? And he would scoff. He would laugh. He would brush. He would literally, whoever wrote that, he would eviscerate them. He'd make them feel stupid about themselves because he knows that this is excrement. That's what this is. This is 5 examples of excrement. That's what it is. The only people who are impressed by those words are those who have no idea what they're doing when it comes to digital transformation. They've never transformed an org. That's the only way you can be impressed by this. And if you're impressed by this, you are in the wrong job. Okay? So, fourthly, none of these key takeaways should even make the top 100 list of takeaways for successful digital transformation. First off, the first takeaway, key takeaway, if you were to look, let's say we're going to analyze the market and we're going to look at successful digital transformation and unsuccessful digital transformation. By the way, if you look at the data set, it's about 80% are unsuccessful, 20% are successful. Okay. If you look at the difference, what's the number one takeaway, the thing you're going to walk away with? And the answer is this. All of those who are successful started with the digital strategy. Why do we want to be digital? Every single one. Number two, key takeaway, digital transformation. Organizations who successfully digitally transform, their leadership group changes the philosophy of the IT group from security and compliance to service. That's not in these 5 key fucking takeaways. And by the way, that's the second most important one. If I go and evaluate an organization and I'm going to look for 5 things, okay? I'm going to look for 5 things. Number 1, I'm looking for a digital strategy. Number 2, I'm looking for a culture of enablement in the IT group. Number 3, I'm looking for one common architecture, ecosystem focused. Number 4, I am looking for a belief that all data matters. And number 5, I'm looking for a culture of enablement from the ground up. You want the 5 key takeaways for digital transformation? I just fucking gave them to you. And none of them are in that list right there. That is garbage. It is absolute garbage. That's what that is. And what pisses me off is that there are leaders out there who are going to listen to this. And they're going to steer their companies in the wrong direction. And they're going to cost people jobs. Rule number 1, when you speak, what is the first question you ask yourself? Why should anyone listen to me? Rule number 2, what am I going to say? Rule number 3, what are they going to hear? Rule number 4, what will they say is most valuable? Whoever wrote this, there's no reason anyone should listen to you. Number 2, you said garbage. Number 3, I heard garbage. 4, the most valuable thing I read out of this is that I should never listen to anything you say ever again. That's the problem with this. The problem.
You're just ripping them a new
I mean, listen, by the way, I invited the CEO. Okay. The CEO commented. Okay. The CEO commented on my post. Let me get to it. So I can't remember his name. He's actually a great guy, by the way. His name is Nude. His name is Nude Lass Luth. And he says, "Hey, Walker, I think you may have misunderstood or misinterpreted some of the points made in our research." Okay. He said, number 1, we never claimed that ERP should be the first step in digitalization. Our research report highlighted that many companies start with ERP upgrades first. So number 1, digitalization and digital transformation are not the same thing. Okay. This is a digital transformation report. And now he uses the term digitalization. They're not the same thing. That's also a misnomer. Okay. He said, I myself think this sounds silly and I hate using SAP myself. but this is what is happening, and that is what we reported here. Okay, so some of the comments on your LinkedIn post confirm that viewpoint. Perhaps this is a nice opportunity for educators like yourself.
Your camera
sorry.
went out.
Yeah.
Your camera went out.
Let me, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say one of my key takeaways for digital transformation would be that not only the digital strategy piece, but everyone in the organization can recite the digital strategy. Because otherwise, it's not going to happen, right? If everyone has to execute it, you have to be able to have that vision and mission to be able to drive
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. How do you know?
But see, you're talking about actually transforming a business. But they're talking about like Industry 4.0, like spec or
Right.
something.
Well,
some white
it's
paper.
right. He says, he also says, number 2, I'm okay if you don't like our research. I think the team is doing a fantastic job going through some of these case studies and highlighting patterns they're seeing. The report provides some very interesting insights into how manufacturers do digital transformation. No,
That's how they do it wrong.
the use cases they pick. So they give a couple of use case studies. Those are not case studies of digital transformation. You even got the fucking definition wrong. I mean, the point is that you're not even using the correct definition of digital transformation. That's the problem. And then you conflate digital transformation with digitalization. They are not the same fucking thing. By the way, anybody who is watching this, if any of you disagree with me, if any of you believe digitalization is digital transformation, by all means, please speak up. Tell Nude, you know what? You're right. You're correct. Digitalization is digital transformation. Because it isn't. Okay? Moreover, if you are holding up an organization that is starting with an ERP upgrade as an example of digital transformation, then you don't know what digital transformation is. That's my point. My point is that words matter. Being precise in language matters. Okay? What I said to Nude is I want him to come on here and defend. By the way, he is a great guy. He's actually a very nice guy. Okay, he's actually incredibly nice. I don't think there's anything about Nude at IoT Analytics that is like, hey, he's a terrible person. Okay, in any way, shape, or form. But my indictment here is of this report. So he says that I may be misunderstood. So let's go ahead and look at the actual report, not just the LinkedIn post. All right, so it says Industry 4 check-in, 5 learnings from ongoing digital transformation initiatives. Number 1, in short, digitalization has become essential for industrial companies worldwide as IoT Analytics expects the industrial IoT market to reach $145 billion in 2023. Number 2, the Industrial IoT and Industry 4 case studies report delves into 22 case studies exploring their project objectives, technologies deployed, lessons learned, challenges, and outcomes. Number 3, in this article, we share 5 learnings from the report. Number 1, upgrading the ERP is often the first step in digital transformation. Let me say this perfectly clear so everyone can hear it and there's no confusion. Okay? ERP upgrade is never, in bold capital letters, never the first step in digital transformation.
I think he's talking about digitalization. I think that's what he meant to say, because you could make the argument that ERP would be the first thing you digitalize, is what I was.
I think there might be a simpler way to say why this is. When traditional ERP systems, you're recording against a work order. So if you're digitizing a work order, you're just aggregating values against it. But if you're really trying to become a real-time enterprise with a real-time supply chain, you can't do that, right? So you wouldn't want to simply digitize a work order process. You're moving on to something more granular and faster.
So he says, let's use these examples, okay? Let's take a look. So number 1, he gives an example here. Now, what if he is right, and this is what most manufacturers are doing that are digitally transforming? Okay. If what he did was he did an analysis of organizations who are successfully digitally transforming versus organizations who are not successfully digitally transforming, okay? If he were to do that. So the question would be, are you connected, collected, and do you store everything? Like you'd be measuring across industry 4 pillars. Okay, it's not whether or not you turned your spreadsheets into dashboards in Power BI. Okay, I did that for you, Doug, right? So
true.
that is digitalization from a spreadsheet to Power BI. That is digitalization onto a platform, but it is not digital transformation. Digitalization is a subset of digital transformation. Literally, you cannot achieve digital transformation without digitizing stuff. Okay, it's baked in. Okay, it's not a question. You don't go, hey, we're going to digitally transform. Should we digitalize this? No, digitizing things is a function of the digital strategy. Okay, they're just baked in. Okay, they're interrelated. But let's look at the ERP upgrade. Let's look at what he means. Okay, or what they mean. Learning 1, an upgraded ERP is often the first step. Okay. Number 1, our analysis found that many manufacturers elect to prioritize upgrading their ERP systems to ensure their various data sources are connected before prioritizing other digital transformation initiatives. Since ERP systems are often the central nervous system of the business, prioritizing an updated ERP allows different departments to share and operate on the same data, reducing errors and improving efficiency. So now he previously said that he didn't think that starting with ERP upgrade is a good idea. But in the report, they literally make a claim as to why it is a good idea. Okay, this is not an observation, it's a fucking statement. Okay, he's trying to act like they're observing it. No, they're not. What you did was you attributed digital transformation to companies who didn't digitally transform. How do I know? Well, selected highlight, Celanese. So Celanese. That's the case study he's looking at. Okay? He says in recent years, US-based chemical manufacturer Celanese has acquired several businesses or divisions from other companies. Celanese has been operating on a legacy SAP ERP system, and the acquired assets had different legacy ERP environments, making cross-section integration difficult. Celanese global CIO, Samir Perau, did not want the company to invest in integrating the new acquisitions into older technology. Given this situation and Celanese's adoption of a strategic, long-term approach to a scalable digital transformation plan, an ERP upgrade became necessary. No, it didn't. Celanese has not digitally transformed. If we were to go in and do a digital transformation maturity assessment at Celanese, they would likely be in the bottom third of the fucking maturity scale. They would be called one of the companies that's going to die. And the idea that this report is holding them up as digitally mature and digitally transforming is fucking preposterous. It's preposterous. Okay? In May of 2023, Celanese announced that it had completed its upgrade to SAP S/4HANA. Further, since Celanese acquired DuPont's Mobility and Materials business just 6 months prior, it quickly cut over to upgrading M&M's legacy ERP system as well, which is expected to be completed in the first half of 2024. While there are other major aspects of their digital transformation journey detailed in our report, this upgrade to its ERP provided a stronger backbone from which other digitalization solutions could be built. No, it didn't. No, it did not. How is it we know that? How do we know that by upgrading to S/4HANA, you are not creating a stronger backbone for future digitalization efforts, digital transformation efforts? What type of tool is S/4HANA? It's an IT tool. It is a business systems tool. Where does your business run? It runs on the OT side of the business. Terminals to S/4HANA is not OT integration. I hate to break the news to you. Okay, that is not closed loop business decision making. That is not the convergence of IT and OT. That is not a philosophy of enablement from the ground floor up. Okay, it is not a philosophy where we create an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure, upon which the business's problems are solved in service of individual workers' problems. Okay? While another benefit of this upgrade is improved visibility and collaboration, enhancing transparency and teamwork, and allowing for efficient data access across the enterprise. That is absolutely not true. And all we would have to do is go talk to the rank and file employee. So when you do a digital transformation maturity assessment, you talk to 5 groups. Okay. You talk to leadership, you talk to the IT group, you talk to operations, you talk to maintenance and engineering, and you talk to quality. Okay. Quality is going to say that's not true. Operations is going to say that's not true. And engineering and maintenance is going to say that's not true. And guess where your fucking business happens? Okay. The leadership's going to be happier than a pig in shit because they got a board of directors to answer to. So they're going to sing its praises. Okay. And the IT department's going to be happier than a pig in shit. Why? Because guess who owns S/4HANA? The IT department, who's worried about security and compliance and not service. But the 3 operational groups are going to say, this is horseshit. How do I know? Because every single company we interview and evaluate who's using one of these monoliths, the operations groups all say the same thing. Not 99% of the time they say the same thing. Not 90% of the time they say the same thing. Every single time. Okay? So the problem I have with this report, okay, and the claims made in this report are that they are summarily not true. Okay? Doug, your thoughts here.
Well, I'm thinking about, I don't want to violate NDA, so I'll speak as if we're talking about hypotheticals here. So let's say hypothetically, a large company really, they see their digital transformation as a supply chain transformation. And they identify a product that's going to do all kinds of linear regression for them to try to predict sales in the market. And they learn, okay, their SAP ECC is really going to be hard to integrate. So they look at SAP HANA. They say, well, this will be easier because it does support MQTT. It does integrate a little bit better that way.
Cloud-based. Scales better.
Yeah, you're still going to leave your operations kind of in,
still a monolith. It's still a monolith that creates a bifurcated infrastructure.
And you're still not going to react that quickly because it's, the speed of accounting is, maybe we close every week or something, right, at best. What are your thoughts about, somebody who's an executive and, looking at this and saying, well, it's really not about manufacturing operations. I care about, whether we need to make product and whether the market wants it.
Well, say that one more time.
Whether we need to make product and whether the market wants it, right? There's nothing worse than producing something you can't sell, right?
Correct. It was, I'm getting a new HVAC unit in my house, today. The HVAC tech yesterday was asking me as I was leaving, I was getting ready to go to the gym with Jared and we were finalizing the deal and shaking hands on it. And he asked kind of what we do. And I was talking about digital transformation for manufacturers. And I had my Ford F-250 pickup truck in one side of the part of the driveway, and I had my Tesla in the other. And I was trying to illustrate for him the difference between a digitally transformed company and one that is not. Okay. I am sure there are people who believe that Ford is a digital company. I'm sure that there are people out there who believe Ford is a digital company. They are not. Okay. Do they have digital components? Yes, but that doesn't make them digital. Why are they not a digital company? Well, Ford openly admits that half the IP that they use in their vehicles, they don't own. They don't own the data. They don't own the information. They don't even have access to it. So therefore, they cannot connect to it digitally and find patterns in that data to improve the customer experience. Okay. And then I pointed to Tesla and I said, that is the most expensive sensor ever built. Tesla's primary commodity is data. It's not this car. Okay. It isn't the supercharger network. All of that's cash flow stuff to get to where they're really going to be, which is sustainable manufacturing. That's what Giga is all about, right? Giga is all about creating the example for manufacturing for the rest of the world that is sustainable. Contract manufacturing. Okay. And you look at all the biggest investors, they all say the same thing. Those who are the Tesla believers, they go, Tesla's mastered the manufacturing. They've transformed it. They've changed the way things are going to be built. Ford still builds it the old way. Okay. And the reason why they just can't, they're just so big and there are so many people who would complain and cavemen, citizens against virtually everything. And you got all these varying interests. And yet Ford still hasn't defined what a digital strategy is. So they can't get everybody on board. I said that in the difference is a digitally transformed company creates products like what Tesla creates. And they manufacture the way Tesla manufactures. And a digitally transformed and one that hasn't operates like Ford. That's what I said to him. I said, Ford is totally blind to this truck right here. Totally blind. Okay. Even the new trucks where they do over-the-air updates, they're not connected. They don't treat the truck as a sensor. You want to know why? It's a very simple reason. Because they still use CAN bus for all the modules to communicate to one another. And what is CAN bus? CAN bus is pole response. So you have to have a request instantiated to the ECM to collect from a sensor. That isn't how a Tesla is built. Every single sensor on a Tesla is treated as a separate node that streams in to the brains. And then the vehicle streams up into the infrastructure. Just one minor change. One minor change in the thought process. That's what a digitally transformed company does. The idea that data is our primary commodity, and they see it everywhere. The rising edge and the falling edge of every event. And how can I compare those to one another? How can I aggregate them? How can I look for patterns? How can I use computers to do the analysis I normally rely on human beings to do? Ask the average person when ChatGPT came out a year ago, literally 1 year ago, 12 months ago, November of 2022, ChatGPT comes out and it fucking fundamentally changes the world, right? Everyone agrees ChatGPT changed the world. Okay. Ask the average person today, how does ChatGPT work? They have no idea. Ask the average person at Ford, how does ChatGPT work? No idea. Ask the average person at, look at this, Celanese or Michelin or Airbus. Actually, Airbus, they would probably be able to answer. Or Total Energies, the companies that they highlighted in this report, they can't answer it. Go to everybody at Tesla and ask them how it works, and they can tell you. Oh, they're just predicting the next word. It's just predicting what the likely next word is. That's it. It's really that simple. It's the same way we do self-driving. Same thing. Okay. The simple reality is this, is there are a lot of people out there who use terms like digital transformation. There are used terms like Industry 4. I just saw another integrator, did a LinkedIn thing. Hey, call us and we'll show you how to do your unified namespace. And it was all unified namespace this and unified namespace that. That integrator has no idea what they're doing. I've reviewed their work. I reviewed their blog posts. I've reviewed their primer, their little thing. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. Okay, it's completely wrong. I've shot a couple of videos saying, don't fucking listen to these guys. That literally they're just making this shit up. Okay. The reality is there are a lot of people out there who do a lot of this and they never ask the question, why should anyone listen to me? So you need to ask that question. So when IoT Analytics posts their next report, the first question you need to ask is, why should I listen to them? Why? I mean, one of the biggest influencers in Industry 4 on LinkedIn has never built anything ever. And I've had a bunch of meetings with him and he told me what his whole goal was. His goal was to build a personal brand, right? And so he just played the algorithm. But the reason it worked was because people never asked the question, Why should I listen to this guy? Why should I listen to this gal? And that's how they get misguided. They'll find out. You go ahead and start with your ERP upgrade. We do this all the time. We literally say to a client all the time. I'll say to a client, I told this example. I predict what's going to happen. I say, go ahead and do it that way. And here's what's going to happen 6 months from now. Here's what's going to happen 12 months from now. Here's what's going to happen 18 months from now. I'm not putting my name on that because it's my reputation. So you go your own way. Give me a call in 18 months when you need it fixed. That's what I say. At the end of the day, I'm not telling you to listen to me. What I'm telling you to do is ask why you should. And I'm saying the same thing with IoT Analytics. Ask the question, why should I listen to them? Because if me breaking this down and telling you how this is complete and utter horseshit, if that doesn't convince you not to listen to this, I don't know what will. To argue that someone upgraded their legacy SAP to S/4HANA is digital transformation and an evidence of ERP upgrade as being the starting point for successful digital transformation is fucking preposterous. It's preposterous. What are the 10 pillars for digital maturity? What are the 10 pillars? They are operations. They are IT. They are engineering. They are quality. They are leadership. They are infrastructure. They are platform. They are network. They are connectivity. And they are strategy. Here is what a successfully digitally transformed company looks like. When it comes to operations, they have a single pane of glass, a digital data-driven decision-making in real time. Number 2, IT. They are a service organization focused on enabling all consumers of data and information to get what they want, when they want, in the form they want it. Engineering group. They are a proactive organization that leverages real-time digital data across processes and business units to drive innovation, reliability, and quality. They predict outcomes and they choose the optimal solution. Quality. 100% digital tools, fully integrated to and from the plant floor. They predict quality issues before they happen. They drive improvement from real-time digital data and information. Leadership. Clear, concise digital strategy that focuses on creating the employee of the future by enabling employees to unlock potential on the plant floor using real-time data and information. Infrastructure. A secure infrastructure that leverages virtual Ethernet networks, virtual machines, containerization for scale, and an edge user-driven deployment strategy for resources. Let me say that again. An edge user-driven deployment strategy for resources. So for example, if it takes you a week to get a virtual machine deployed at Michelin or Airbus or Celanese, then you are not digitally transformed. You have 100% network coverage for all people, places, and smart things. Platform. IIoT platform that is open, edge-driven, report by exception, cross-platform, and scalable. It works for both digital thread and technology-driven stacks concurrently and cannot be defined as solution-centric. Network. 100% coverage. Connectivity. 100% of edge devices are connected to the network over protocol of choice. Strategy, a fully technology-driven strategy. The digital strategy was developed with the technology infrastructure first, and solutions were selected from these minimum technical requirements. That, my friends, is what a digitally transformed organization looks like. Now go to IoT Analytics, look at the 5 companies they highlight, and tell me whether or not any of those 5 companies meet any of that criteria. The answer is they don't. This report is garbage. Doug, any parting statements?
No, I'm curious your thoughts about, how ERP systems are often a hindrance. Trying to get the the schedule out of it with the nested bill of material that's critical to many aspects of digital transformation.
Here, let me say this. I want to say two things first. Number one, the folks at IoT Analytics are good people. Like I don't think, I don't think that they are like bad people. I think what they did was they produced a garbage report. That's what I think. Okay. Do I believe that all reports that they produce are garbage? No, but certainly the last couple of them I've seen are just not worth the paper they're written on. Okay. That's number one. I want to get it clear. They're good people there, and their CEO is a good guy. Okay. And he probably is pissed off at me, but whatever. I mean, come back with a factual rebuttal. Okay. What he's going to have to say is, we disagree on what the definition of digital transformation is. And then I'm going to say, okay, let's start with the companies that are the most digital in the world. And let's define digital transformation based on the most digitally advanced companies in the world, which, by the way, is what we did. Okay. So he'll end up standing there looking at me with like a deer in headlights. And he'll have to acknowledge, okay, we're just defining digital transformation wrong. Okay. On the ERP side, I had a conversation with, so Epicor, everybody knows Epicor, right? And when I was in Denver, I see Nico Nikon, I see you are passionate about it, but you will have a lot of enemies. Yes, I have lots of enemies. But do you know, I actually embrace that, the enemy piece. Do you know why? Actually, let me tell you why I act the way I do real quick. You know what conflict theory gives me? It lets me see who it is who is full of shit. Because in order to hate me, you have to hate me for one of two reasons. Either you just don't like my personality, and that's okay, right? My personality is not for everybody. Either you have to not like my personality, or you must be very disappointed with the fact that I'm going to beat you in a debate because I know the domain and the facts better than you do. And if you hate me for that reason, if that's the reason you hate me, well, he just beat me in a debate. You're the problem, not me. Because if you beat me in a debate, I'm going to acknowledge, yeah, I'm wrong. I got that wrong. And then I'm just going to move on. I have lots of enemies. But I do this because I have a moral obligation to, because I have fuck you money. And what's the point? I mean, Joe Rogan said this. What's the point in having fuck you money if you're not going to say fuck you? That's what he said, right? Why do I love Rick Bellotta so much? Right? I love Rick because Rick has fuck you money. And when he finally walked away from the industry, now he is a mentor. He's part of the old guard. But what he's doing is he is calling out poor leadership in our industry. Why? Because no one can hurt him. No one can hurt me. Like, I'm not on the come up. There isn't somebody who's going to decide whether to hire me or not. Right? There isn't someone who's going to decide whether to give me a contract or not. I don't need the contract. So I have an obligation to tell it like it actually is. I have to, because there are a lot of people out there. Who have to worry about their job. They got to worry about feeding their families. And I don't. So I have to speak. If I'm wrong here, if you guys think I'm wrong, if you think digitalization is digital transformation, if you think you can start digital transformation by upgrading your ERP, if they're even related at all, if you believe that, I'm all ears. Come on here and let's have a conversation. I assure you I'm going to beat you. The only way you can believe that is if you have not been part of digital transformation for the last 20 years. That's the only way you could believe that. Because all I got to do is go, well, what about Amazon? And what about Tesla? I mean, Walmart started with their ERP and look at where they are. Walmart believed that the way to catch up to Amazon was to do exactly what is in this IoT analytics piece as it relates to the ERP. because they thought by doing that, they could do predictive analytics on the supply chain. What they didn't understand was that the ERP vendor that they partnered with owned the data and that it was a monolith. That's what they didn't understand.
You lost your camera, Walker.
Yeah,
but that is ironic because, they were a leader. When they came on with the scan guns and the stuff on the floor, I mean, those of us who are old enough to remember, like, that was transitional.
I mean, think about it this way. Like, there's some grocery stores here, right? We have Kroger, we have Tom Thumb, and, we have other, but the two big grocery stores we have here are Tom Thumb and Kroger in Dallas. Okay. Do you want to know why I never go to Kroger? This will blow your mind, actually. And it's not just me. There are a lot of people who don't go to Kroger. Kroger uses, so when you go to the self-checkout line, Kroger does a thing where they measure the weight of the stuff you put in your bag. So you scanned it, you drop it in the bag, and if they don't measure the weight, they put a little alarm on the HMI telling you need to put the thing in the bag. Okay? Tom Thumb uses vision. So Tom Thumb is using a camera to watch you put the thing in the bag. Which one do you think is more reliable? Which one's more reliable? Would you guess? The scale or the vision system?
Vision system has the potential to be more reliable.
It is more reliable. It's way more reliable. So I did this. I went and I did 15 items at Kroger. Okay. 3 of the 15 items, I got an error when I put the thing in the bag. I've never gotten the error at Tom Thumb. Never. So when I leave my house or when Jared leaves the house and we have to make a decision on which grocery store to go, they're the same. Kroger's actually a little closer. We go to Tom Thumb. That's one little tiny thing, but that comes from digital strategy. The vision system is far more accurate. And clearly Tom Thumb's digital strategy was we needed 5 nines of reliability with 99% confidence on the vision ML application. So I should get 1 error for every 100 items. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, digital transformation is about automating business processes on a common ecosystem, common infrastructure. Okay. One architecture, open, edge-driven, report by exception, using a lightweight protocol. There's no ERP system that qualifies for any of those minimum requirements. But I want to go back to the Epicor thing real quick. Okay. I had a conversation, the new leadership at Epicor, and I hope I get this right. The new leadership at Epicor, I think they were originally at Infor, and then they went to Oracle, and now they're at Epicor. Okay. And it's 2 of the board members. It's the CEO and I think the CTO. They've gone from 3 ERP systems. And you want to know why they went to Epicor? The current leadership at Epicor, because the board of directors at Epicor is going to allow them to move away from the monolithic approach to ERP. So I spoke to their CTO and they told me we are going to treat ERP as a node, as a functional node in the business, not the monolith. So not the centerpiece, but a node in the business workflow. And outside of Odoo, I have never heard an ERP OEM ever say that. Ever. So if Epicor did that, and Odoo's already done it, it's only a matter of time before all the other ERP manufacturers do it. The biggest problem that SAP has, biggest problem, is all their previous success. That's the biggest problem they have.
I agree, and they believe they're the system of record.
Yep.
And when you think of monolith versus microservices become the system of record.
You have many systems of record, and the infrastructure becomes the system of record. You have many systems of ownership, and the infrastructure becomes the system of record.
When SAP goes around saying that, it's the exact opposite that the leaders in microservices are saying. They're saying our microservice and the product owner of that microservice is establishing the system of record.
Yes. All right. Listen, thank you, gang, for watching. We went 1 minute over. It's been a while since we've done a live stream. Comment down below whether or not you want us to do it live more often. We've really pivoted to doing pre-recording them. That way we have a lot of guests lined up over the next couple of months, but we can do a combination of recorded and live. If you want to see more live, please let us know down below. I'm hoping that Nude and I will be able to get together and go over this report. I'm going to if he doesn't give me a copy, I'll go ahead and buy it, because I did bash them over the head pretty hard on this one. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.